Hello, it's me, it's Salty. Welcome to my stream. How we doing? Hello viewers, hello VOD watchers. I'm back. I have reinstalled Windows. I'm now running Windows 10, IoT, LTSC, and it should be good until 2032. I touch nothing until 2032. And yeah, I would have been. Hello, Ferret King. How you doing? I would have been streaming earlier, but there was a bit of a kerfuffle outside. Hello, Everest. How you doing? There was a cat got lost in the drain outside, and rescuers were like fire rescuers were trying to rescue this freaking cat, and it's like they had the little cops out there and the firemen, and you could just hear this little meow, meow coming from the drain. I'm just like, oh no. And the owners were there, and oh no worries, Everest. It's storms. Oh, kitty. I hope that's not too bad. I hope the storms aren't too bad. So yes, the owners were there trying to coax the little kit or the kitty out, and the neighbours' dogs were barking, and it's like, this isn't helping. And the neighbour was there. I'm just like, take your dogs in. But yeah. Anyway, so apparently the fireman went down the drain, and then the cat immediately shot out the other end of the drain and up the street. So I'm like, okay, good, cat's out. Guy with his loud motorcycle. So yes, cat is successfully out of the drain. I don't know where it is now, but it's not in the drain. No, it's not my cat, it's the neighbour's cat. You got a new job, Everest? Congratulations. Well done. Is it a foot in the door job? I hope it is. So yeah, if things aren't quite right in the stream, it's because I reinstalled Windows and just copied all of the folders across. For example, my stream avatar is missing because the script that runs it is missing. I don't know where I put it. Couldn't tell you. Can't remember. Couldn't tell you. I thought I had it in my Salty Chimkin folder, but apparently not. Anyway, I'm going to be continuing reading bedtime stories, and as a ruler, I'm using the bookmark. Bedtime stories. I have another book, big, of Aesop's Fables with illustrations. Yeah, quite a few kids' books. That's not necessarily a kids' book, I guess. I don't think Aesop's Fables are particularly children's stories. They're more like lessons, I guess. That was definitely a childhood book, though. So yeah, I will finish reading these bedtime stories, and then I will. You had 3 different Aesop's books. I think Aesop's Fables got to the point. I think it's like where people just make up fables and assign them to Aesop. Over here, only children read Aesop's Fable. Well, over here too, but I mean, like, I don't imagine Aesop wrote them as children's stories. Maybe he did. I don't know. Actually, I don't really know anything about Aesop. because I've only ever had the only ever read the Fables. Adults, when they grow up, they read slightly adult themed. Yeah, I meant more in the line of maybe analysing them as an adult. If you redeem or even lurk, then you're obligated to sort of talk. Yeah, I understand that, Kitty. It's understandable, but you don't have to talk here if you don't want to. So yeah, that's fun time with random cats. All right. I was trying to use. Okay, so no worries, Fred. Have a good drive. Last week we read a story of Hans, who somehow took a huge chunk of gold and ended up with nothing through various trades. And this story is called Alicia and the Leper. Over here, in terms of books, the more edgy and innuendo-y, the more popular. Hey, sex sells. It has been the case for time immemorial. No one's going to change. Okay. So, Alicia and the Leper. Isn't that from the Bible? I don't know. I back when I was a teenager, I started to read the Bible, and then I was just like, no, I'm not reading this. Alicia and the Leper. It could be. It could be. We'll find out. There was once a great soldier in Syria called Naaman. He was captain of all the king of Syria's armies. He was a brave and honourable man, and, with God's help, he had fought hard and made Syria a free country. But Naaman was a leper. The disease left white sores all over his body, and people were afraid to touch him. It so happened that quite recently the Syrian army had captured many people out of Israel. Among the prisoners was a little girl who became a servant in the house of Naaman. She knew about his illness, and she felt sorry for him because he was a kind and good master. She spoke to her mistress, who was Naaman's wife. I wish that my lord Naaman would go to see the prophet that lives in Israel, said the girl. I'm sure that he will be able to cure his leprosy for him. Whereabouts does he live? Asked Naaman's wife. In Samaria, the northern capital, said the girl. Everyone knows him there. What's his name? Asked Naaman's wife. Elisha, said the girl. Have you not heard of him? No, said Naaman's wife, but I'm very glad that you told me. Your master will be very pleased. She told Naaman what the girl had said, and Naaman told the king. He asked if he could go to Israel to find the prophet. Of course you can, said the king of Syria. Delighted to let you go. I'll write a personal letter to the king of Israel, asking him to help you. Are we at war? Are we at war with him at the moment? I don't think so. Here you are. Take silver and gold, and some rich robes as presents, if they cure you. Naaman rode to Samaria in his chariot. That'd be a rough journey in a chariot. Anyway. He took soldiers on horseback with him as a guard. He gave his letter from the king of Syria to the king of Israel. The king of Israel read the letter. When you receive this letter, wrote the king of Syria, I hope you will do everything you can to cure my faithful captain Naaman of the disease he has. Remember that you and I are old friends, even if sometimes we have our quarrels and our little wars. We kings must help each other if we can. The king of Israel read the letter once again. He looked at Naaman in astonishment. What does this mean? He asked. Is this some kind of joke? Does he think that I am God? How can I cure Naaman of his leprosy? Why send him to me? Let me explain, said Naaman. It's not you, but the prophet Elisha who can cure me. The king sighed with relief. He sent a messenger to find Elisha. Ask the prophet if he will cure the captain, said the king. The messenger ran quickly to Elisha and came back to the palace. The prophet says you need not worry, said the messenger. Send the captain to him, and he will show the Syrians that God is on the side of the Israelites. Splendid, said the king. Tell the captain to take his soldiers and chariots with him. They make me nervous. I'm just imagining, like, the soldiers and chariots, like, in the throne room. Like, he pulled up in the throne room, and the king's just like, these make me nervous. That's not what happened. Yeah. Naaman rode in his chariot to Elisha's house, with his horsemen behind him. He waited at Elisha's door. The prophet sent his servant Gehazi to speak with Naaman. My master says that you must go and wash in the river Jordan 7 times, said Gehazi. Then your skin will be clean again. Elisha has a badass story about him in the Bible. Some kids were verbally abusing him, calling him baldy and other stuff, so he cursed them, and a bear came in, attacked and ate them. Okay, that's random. There we go. It's muting a tab. Yes, then your skin will be clean again. What an insult, cried Naaman angrily. I expected something better than that. He might at least come out himself and see me, or raise his hands to heaven and call out for his God to help me. Go and wash in the river, he says. I could have done that at home and not bothered to come here. The rivers in Syria are a great deal more pleasant than the river Jordan, and probably cleaner too. Naaman turned his chariot around and prepared to leave at once. He was in a towering rage. Bible school. Oh, okay. My lord, said one of his soldiers, if the prophet had asked you to do some great and difficult thing, you would have done it, would you not? I would, said Naaman, but I'm not going to pay him for telling me to have a bath. What good will that do? The trouble is, said the soldier, you are angry because the prophet has asked you to do something very simple. Don't be so proud. Go and do as the prophet tells you. It can't do any harm. The simplest things are often the best. That soldier's getting a demotion. Naman thought for a moment. You may be right, he said. I'll go and wash in the Jordan, but I still don't see how it can do any good. I have washed myself often enough before, and it's not cured me. He rode down to the banks of the Jordan, took off his clothes, and dipped himself 7 times in the river. As the water washed him, his skin became quite clean again, as soft and clear as the skin of a little child. Extraordinary, said Naman. I would never have believed it. The man can work miracles. He rode back to Elisha, and this time Elisha came to the door to see him. Incredible, said Naaman. How did you do it? I prayed to God, said Elisha. That's all I did. A most remarkable God, said Naaman. There is no other like him, said Elisha. He is the God of the people of Israel. Do you know, said Naaman, I think I believe you. I'm very glad to hear that you do, said Elisha. Naaman called to one of his men to bring the silver and gold and rich robes. Let me pay you for what you have done for me, he said. That's not necessary, said Elisha. I did it in God's name. He does not need to be paid. Please, said Naaman, you cured me. No, said Elisha, I will take nothing. Go in peace. Goodbye then, said Naaman. God be with you. He packed away the silver and gold and rich robes and began to ride back to Syria with his chariots and men. But Gehazi had overheard the conversation between Naaman and Elisha. He had heard Elisha refuse to take the gifts that Naaman had offered him. Well, thought Gehazi, he may not want them, but I could certainly do with a bit of silver and gold and a rich robe or two. It's a pity to let them be wasted when the captain has taken all that trouble to bring them here. He jumped on his horse and galloped quickly after Naaman. The captain saw him coming and waited. Is something wrong? He asked. What is it? No, everything is fine, said Gehazi. It's just that my master Elisha asked me to bring a message to you. 2 young holy men have come to stay with him, and he would like to give them each a piece of silver and a new robe so that they can go on their journey. He asked if you would give me that. Of course I will, said Naaman. I'm glad he changed his mind. Here you are, 2 pieces of silver and 2 new robes. I wish he would let me give him more. Gehazi did not want to be greedy. No, he said, that's all, thank you. He rode back to Elisha's house, and Naaman continued on his way to Syria. Gehazi tried to leave the money and the robes secretly by the back door of the house. Where have you been? Called Elisha. Nowhere, my lord, said Gehazi nervously, trying to hide the money and the robes. Nowhere at all. What kind of nowhere? Asked Elisha sternly. Did you meet Naaman at this nowhere place you went to? "Oh, my lord," Gehazi muttered, "how did you know?" "Gehazi," said Elisha, "don't you know yet that God is always with you, wherever you are? He knows everything, Gehazi. Everything. Everything." "I have done wrong," said Gehazi, ashamed. "You have," said Elisha. He touched Gehazi, and Gehazi became a leper as white as snow. But Naaman, the Syrian, went home clean. That's a bit out of the punishment. I think was a bit out of balance there. These old Bible stories are wild. Anyway. So, I think there's another Bible story coming up, but yeah, anyway. So, that was Elisha and the leper. Wild. I remembered another story. After Elisha was buried, some people were carrying a dead body to the graveyard. They slipped and fell, and immediately after that body fell on top of Elisha's grave, it stood up. Okay. In the Bible, he doesn't touch him, just says that due to you stealing, now you'll carry the burden of Naaman for the rest of your life. Okay, well, that makes a bit more sense. But still, maybe it's a lost in translation thing. Just seems a bit excessive for something that can easily be remedied. Anyway, the next story is called Tristan and Isolde. Tristan was a knight in the days of old King Arthur. He fought a champion and cut his head open. He killed a dragon and took its tongue out. He fell in love with a beautiful princess and lost her. His father was the king of Brittany. I believe Brittany was actually in France. Kind of is still in France. Elisha punished kids for heckling. You think he'll be lenient towards the slave? That's true. Elisha seems like a kind of old school guy. His father was the king of Brittany, and he was taught to be a knight as shining bright, as cunning quick, as stout and strong as any youth could ever hope to be. I wish to go to sea and seek adventure, Tristan said. He did, and he was wrecked in a far country. Where are we? Tristan asked the king of that country. In Cornwall, said the king. I am your Uncle Mark. Tristan made himself at home, and King Mark of Cornwall gave him all the love and care an uncle should. I wonder, Tristan said, if there is any chance of showing you how shining bright, how cunning quick, how stout and strong I have become. There was, and it came soon. A champion came from Ireland. A bitter enemy of ours, said Mark. He comes each year to to take away the pick of all the likely lads of Cornwall. Does no one say him nay? Cried Tristan. None dare, King Mark replied. I shall, said Tristan. He did, and he was sorely wounded. The champion's name was Morold. Tristan and Morold fought a savage duel that lasted all the day. In the morning, Morold stabbed Tristan with his poisoned spear. In the evening, Tristan struck Morold hard on the head and killed him. The blow was so stout and strong that a splinter from the sword stuck fast in Morold's skull. Morold's body was taken back to Ireland to be buried. That's put paid to him, said Mark. There's a phrase I've never heard before. That's put paid to him. And he's put paid to me, said Tristan. This poison from his spear is slowly killing me. There is a cure, said Mark, but it's a little awkward. There's a cure, but you're going to have to put up with a little bit of awkwardness. What do I care, said Tristan. I want to live. Mark looked at his nephew with pity. The only person who can cure you may kill you rather quicker than the poison will. Who's that? Asked Tristan. The Queen of Ireland, Mark replied. She's Morold's sister. I don't think you'll be too welcome if you just go now. If you go just now? Yeah. That can't be helped, said Tristan. I must go, or I shall die. I'll dress up in disguise. He did, and it worked. He set sail for Ireland, dressed in tattered rags, and said he was the minstrel Tantris, wrecked upon the shore. They took him to the Queen of Ireland. A poisonous fish has bitten me, he said. I need your magic cure. The Queen of Ireland liked the minstrel lad and needed someone who could read and sing to teach the young princess, her daughter Isolde. So she cured him, and, while he was recovering, he dallied with Isolde. What a wonderful pupil you are, said Tristan. Hello, Scribs. Hope you're having a good morning. It's my teacher who is so marvellous, said Isolde. They were both well pleased with life. I shall marry you one day, said Tristan. She's far too young, the Queen of Ireland said. And anyway, nice as you are nothing but a minstrel. Your wound is better now. It's time you went off home. He did. He went to Cornwall. He told King Mark, and anyone who cared to listen, how fabulous the princess was. Yeah. He's becoming a bore, said the Cornish knights. King Mark is far too fond of him, they said. If the king does not marry and have a son, they said, this Tristan might quite well take on the crown himself. The Cornish knights had a word with King Mark. Why not marry, have a son, they said. Isolde sounds the perfect choice. Peace with Ireland and a pretty girl. Send Tristan to make her an offer. He knows the way. They thought themselves rather clever. 1, Tristan will lose Isolde, they sniggered. 2, he can't go in disguise this time, and, with any luck, will lose his life as well, if the Queen of Ireland has any sense. Thank you for following. Tristan sailed to Ireland in his proper armour, with his proper name, and wearing his proper sword, the one that splintered on the skull of Marold. Oh, I can see where this is going. The minute he set foot on Ireland, before he had the chance to see the king, the queen, or even Isolde, he met with a devilish dragon. Little did he know that the king had sworn to marry Isolde to the man who slew the dragon. This dragon is in the way, thought Tristan. I'd better knuckle down and slay it. He did, but it took a terrible struggle. The dragon's breath was so foul that Tristan could scarcely get near it. My chat is lovely. The dragon's scales were so tough that he could scarcely cut through them. The dragon's claws were so cruel, and its tail so sharply tipped, that he was wounded rather more often than he would have liked. However, he won. This book is very English. He was wounded rather more often than he would have liked. Tough scalies, yeah. Quite exhausted, covered in blood, he took the dragon's tongue as a trophy and limped to a stream to wash himself. A moment later, the king's steward came riding past the dragon. What a stroke of luck, he cried.
Do the thing.
Thank you, I'll have a stretch. What a stroke of luck, he cried. Dragon's dead. I'll take its head. The princess will be mine. The princess will be mine. Hi, Raphael. I hope you're doing well. He hacked at the dragon's neck. His sword was blunt. His strength was puny, but he cut through it in the end. He rode back, gloating with good fortune, to the castle of the king. My darling Isolde will get quite a pretty shock at my brave deed, he thought. She did. She nearly fainted. Not so much as the dragon's head, but at the thought of being wed to such a ghastly man. Oh, I'm glad. He could not have done it by himself, exclaimed the queen. Let's go and find out what the trick was. Queen and princess hurried to the scene of battle. There lay the dragon, dead without its head. Oh, this is Bedtime Stories. And the story is Tristan and Isolde. Yes, queen and princess hurried to the scene of battle. There lay the dragon, dead without its head. A trail of blood led off towards a stream. That's not the steward's blood, the queen declared. He has never even pricked his finger with a pin. They followed the blood and found the knight collapsed upon the ground. They bathed his face with careful hands. It's Tantris, my dear teacher, Tantris, cried the princess. Tristan smiled at her weakly. This is not the time nor place, he thought, to tell them anything they need not know. Don't speak now, Isolde said. Don't say a word. Your wounds are far too bad. They bore him gently to the castle and laid him in a bath. She took his armour off to polish it. She took his sword to wipe it clean. Mother, she screamed, the sword is splintered with the self-same splinter stuck in Morold's skull. Yeah, it's... Oh. She picked up her skirts and ran, brandishing the sword to the bath, where Tristan sat quite naked. Impostor! She shrieked. Rogue! Knave! Murderer! False friend! Hey, wait a minute, Tristan cried, failing to defend himself. I can explain it all. He tried, but she did not believe a word of it. You murdered Morold, shrieked Isolde. He wished to murder me, cried Tristan. You came here in a cheap disguise, she yelled. The poison would have killed me otherwise, he cried. You thought to slay the dragon and become my husband, she snapped. I come from King Mark of Cornwall, Tristan cried. He offers you his hand. Stop your quarrelling, complained the queen. What's done is done. What's past is past. If you drown Tristan in his bath, my dear, I rather think the steward will win you in the end. He's got the dragon's head in your father's throne room now, and is claiming you as his wife. Oh no, 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 screamed Isolde. I won't. I can't. Do something, for heaven's sake, you oafish Cornish knight. Tristan stood up swiftly in his bath. He called out loudly, Give me my towel to wrap myself. Give me the tongue that's on the shelf. They ran together to the King of Ireland's throne. The steward was holding up the dragon's head. Here's the head. I claim her hand, he said. That would seem only fair, agreed the king. Wait, cried Tristan suddenly. He has the head, but here's the tongue. It proves that I removed it first, before this villain did his worst to trick poor Isolde into bed. Smart. The steward was thrown in jail. Tristan explained what he had come for, and the king agreed that Isolde should go back with him to marry Mark of Cornwall. I can't stand the sight of you, hissed Isolde. Go and put some clothes on. You look stupid in that towel. They set off back to Cornwall, with a cousin of the princess to keep them company. Just as they left, the queen gave her a little flask. It had a magic potion in it, which Mark and Isolde were to drink when they got married. Isolde was thirsty on the voyage. Tristan saw the flask, and not knowing what was in it, he first gave her the magic potion, and then drank some of it himself. Your eyes are shining bright, she said. I thought you could not stand the sight of me, said Tristan. Your hands are cunning quick, she said. I thought you thought me thick, said Tristan. Not at all, sighed Isolde. I find you stout and strong. The magic potion made them fall in love. They laughed and sang songs and watched the moon at night over the still, still water. But when they reached Cornwall, the princess married the king, as all along they knew she had to do. "Keep me in your heart," whispered Isolde. "And you keep me in yours," said Tristan. "Take my ring," she said, "and hold it as a token." They met rarely, and finally Tristan married a wife. But she was jealous, because the love of Tristan and Isolde was a legend in the land. Much later, much later, Tristan got another poisonous wound. Only Isolde could cure him. She had learnt the magic skill from her mother. "Send her this ring," said Tristan, "that the sails of the ship be white if the messenger returns with her. Let them be black if he does not." Isolde came at once, and the sails of the ship were white. But Tristan was too ill to leave his bed, and his jealous wife watched for the sails instead. "The ship is here. Its sails are black," she lied. "Isolde has forgotten you." "Then I must die," said Tristan. This he did, and Isolde came too late. She died beside the man she loved. 2 rose trees grew up from their graves, and as they grew, their branches intertwined. There's the picture. I'm guessing these are the abridged versions of the stories. And here's another Bible story. I know it's a Bible story because it sounds biblical. This is called Gideon and the Midianites. Gideon and the Midianites. Oh, we're back in Israel again. Okay. It was not long after the death of Joshua that the people of Israel began to behave badly again. Okay. Joshua's keeping things together, was he? They were bored with God, and they built altars to the false god Baal, or Baal, depending on how you pronounce it. God was angry with them for doing this. He sent the Midianites to conquer them. The Midianites came just after the Israelites had sown the new seed in the spring. They came in great numbers and destroyed all the crops that were growing. They ruled the land for 7 years. The people of Israel tried to hide from the Midianites in mountain caves and hill forts. They became very poor. Some of them thought that it was time they began to pray to the real God again. They cried to the Lord for help. God sent an angel to look for Gideon. The angel sat under an oak tree and talked to Gideon, who was secretly threshing the corn that he had hidden from the Midianites. "You look brave and strong," said the angel. Gideon looked up from his work. I need to be brave and strong nowadays, he said. Life is bad with the Midianites as our masters. Don't worry, said the angel. God is on your side. It's all very well to say that, replied Gideon. But if he's on our side, then why has he made our life so miserable? What about all those miracles that our fathers told us about? What's the point of bringing the people safely out of Egypt to the promised land if all God does is to hand us over to the Midianites? It's up to you to save the people, said the angel. Me? Said Gideon in surprise. How can I save Israel? I come from a poor family, and I'm the youngest in the house. So what? Said the angel. God is with you. You said that before, replied Gideon. If what you say is true, give me some kind of sign. Go and fetch meat and bread, said the angel. I'll not be long, said Gideon. Wait here. He went inside his house and cut up some tender meat, which he put in a basket with some cakes. He put some soup in a pot and brought the food out to the angel under the oak tree. Now what? Asked Gideon. Put the food on this rock, said the angel, and pour the soup over it. Gideon did as he was told. The angel touched the food with the end of his staff. Flames sprang up from the bare rock and burnt the meat and the cakes. Then the angel disappeared. Gideon stared at the burnt food. Either that is magic, he said to himself, or I have truly seen an angel face to face. I like to imagine it's one of the biblical angels, which are like 8 eyeballs and just feathers and wings. That night, God came and spoke to Gideon. You must go and break down the altar of the false god Baal that your father has built, said God. Cut down the grove of trees beside the altar and build a new altar to the true Lord God. Burn a bullock from your father's herd on the new altar as a sacrifice. Guessing this is the Old Testament. Gideon was afraid to do this during the day. He knew that his father and the men of the village would be angry. He did it at night with the help of 10 of his father's servants. When the villagers found that their altar to the false god Baal had been broken down, they were furious. Who has done this? They cried. Gideon, the son of Joash, the son of Joash did it, said one of the servants. Joash, said the villagers, hand over your son. He must die for what he has done. How dare he destroy the altar to Baal and cut down the sacred grove of trees? What do you mean? Asked Joash. What kind of god is Baal, if you have come running to protect him? Can't he look after himself? If he is any good as a god, he will punish Gideon in his own way. Anyone who dares to do it for him should be put to death himself. That made the villagers shut up very quickly. They waited, but Baal did not punish Gideon. Shortly afterwards, the army of the Midianites joined forces with the army of Amalek, who was an old enemy of the Israelites. The armies marched into the hills to search out the people who were still hiding. Gideon sent messengers throughout the land to call together all the people of Israel into one army under his command. Then he prayed to God. "I'm still not sure about all this," said Gideon. This book is so English. "I'm still not sure about all this," asked Gideon. "If you mean what you say and you really are going to help us, will you give me another sign?" "If that's what you want," said God. "You don't trust me very much, do you?" "It's not that I don't trust you," said Gideon. "It's just that I want to be sure, that's all. I'll put the fleece of a sheep on the ground tonight. If the fleece gets wet with dew and the ground around stays dry, then I'll know you mean what you say." He laid out the fleece. The next morning, it was wet with dew and the ground around was dry. He wrung out a whole bowl full of water from the fleece. "Don't be angry with me, God," he said. "You did as I asked, but just to be absolutely sure, so that there's no mistake, will you give me another sign?" "What is it this time?" said God, a little impatiently. "I'll lay out the fleece again," said Gideon. "If the fleece remains dry and the ground around is wet with dew, then I'll be absolutely sure that you will help us." He laid out the fleece. In the morning it was dry, and the ground around was wet with dew. A lot of the biblical texts are extremely vague and bastardized because it's been translated to English. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Wish I knew enough Aramaic language to be able to read the original Bible. That'd be cool. Could actually see what it was before all the various corruptions in English. Be interesting. Hey Pixie, how you doing? I didn't intend to read biblical stories tonight. They just happened to be in this book. And I'm loving the sass and Gideon being like, "Can you give me another sign?" And God's like, "What is it this time?" "Oh, Pixie, we missed you." Okay, so the fleece was dry. Then Gideon led his army towards the Midianites, who had set up their camp in a valley. Or as I like to call it, what do they call it? The killing zone. God spoke to Gideon as he was getting ready for the battle. "This time it's my turn to tell you what to do," said God. "You have too many people in your army. If you defeat the Midianites, you will think that you did it because of your own strength, not with God's help. Tell your soldiers that anyone who's afraid may go home." Gideon told his men what God had said. 22,000 soldiers returned home, and only 10,000 remained. That's a lot of soldiers, especially for those days. That's insane. The logistics alone. "There are still too many people," God said to Gideon. "Take your men down to the water to drink." The opponents had like 100k. Yeah, 100k soldiers in those days. Come on. Come on. Gideon led his soldiers down to the water. Some of them lay on their stomachs and lapped the water with their tongues like a dog. Others knelt down, scooped up the water, and lapped it from their cupped hands. Keep only those who lap the water from their hands, said God. Send all the others home. There were only 300 men who lapped the water from their hands. That's quite enough, said God. The men marched by night to the hills above the valley where the Midianites were camping. Kingdoms were vast, so it makes sense in a way. True, Everest, but the population density, I find it difficult to believe that the population density was there to have 100,000 soldiers just on one side. You know what I'm saying? I think someone was embellishing the numbers. Yes, okay. So, now, Gideon, said God, go down secretly to the Midianite army and listen to what they are saying about you. That should make you feel a great deal braver. If you are afraid to go alone, take your servant Pura. I'm going to say it's Pura. It's probably Farah or something like that. The average, no, that I disagree with you on that, Everest. The average life expectancy was low because of children dying a lot. Once you got past childhood, life expectancy was a lot higher. Oh yeah, the kings definitely would have survived quite long. Right. I don't know how to... Farah. I'm just going to say Farah. Gideon and Farah crept down in the dark to the outskirts of the Midianite camp. The army was spread out along the valley as thick as grasshoppers in a field. There were so many camels that Gideon could not count them all. As he lay hiding in the bushes, he heard 2 sentries talking. Did I tell you about my dream last night? Said the man. Not another dream, said his friend. You never stop. This one was strange, said the man. A cake of barley bread came tumbling down the hill right into the middle of our camp. It rolled into a tent and knocked the tent flat on the ground. I know what that means, said his friend. That means Gideon and those Israelites are going to come rolling down on us one dark and gloomy night and knock us all flat. Is that true? Asked the first man anxiously. You mark my words, said his friend. That's what it means. You'd better keep a sharp lookout. Gideon slipped away quietly and hurried back to the camp with Farah. Yeah, that's true, Everest. Senile people are running the countries. Get ready to attack, he said. God will give us victory over the Midianites tonight. He divided his 300 men into 3 companies each with 100 men. He gave each man a trumpet and an empty water jug with a lamp inside. The light was hidden in the jug. "Watch me," said Gideon, "and do as I do when we get to the outskirts of their camp. When I blow my trumpet, then all of you blow all your trumpets and shout, 'The sword of the Lord and of Gideon.' Are you ready?" 2 of the companies crept round silently in the dark to the other side of the Midianite camp. Gideon and his company slid quietly down the hill to the front of the camp. Everything was still. The Midianites were asleep. A few campfires were flickering here and there. 1 or 2 camels coughed drowsily, and the guards were changing over in the middle of the night. "Now!" cried Gideon. He blew his trumpet and broke open his water jug so that the lamp shone out brightly. Each of his men in all the 3 companies around the camp did the same. They blew their trumpets and broke their water jugs and held their lamps up high. "The sword of the Lord and Gideon!" they cried. The Midianites woke up and rushed out of their tents. They were confused by the noise and the bright lights. They turned against each other in panic, each man thinking that his neighbor was the enemy. They fought and killed each other and fled before Gideon and his tiny army. Gideon chased them all the way to the river Jordan. He captured and killed their leaders, Oreb and Zeb. By the time they had stopped running after the Midianites, Gideon's men were tired and hungry. They asked for food from the local villagers. "Why should we give you food?" they said. "You may be very brave and strong, but you have not conquered any of us yet, have you?" "No," said Gideon angrily. "I asked for food as if you were my friends. If you don't like that, then you shall be my enemies instead. I'll come back and conquer you when we have rested." So that is just what he did. Afterwards, the Israelites were full of praise for Gideon. Will you be our king?" they said. "You've saved us from the Midianites." "No," said Gideon, "I won't be your king. God will rule over you." "What can we give you then to thank you?" they asked. "Ah, well, that's different," Gideon replied. "If you really want to show your thanks, give me the Midianites' gold earrings. That will do very nicely." He put a cloak on the ground, and the people threw into it all the earrings and jewels and gold chains and rich purple robes that they had taken from the Midianites. It was a vast amount of treasure. Gideon gathered it together and took it safely back to the city where he lived. After that, the country was peaceful for the rest of Gideon's life. The end. The next story is called The Wren and the Bear. Thank you. There's the bear. Oh. Looking very bear, doing very bear things. The bear and the wolf were going for a stroll in the woods. It was a dozy day in summer, and there was nothing much to do. Oh, jeez. The bear had found 2 honey hives for breakfast. The wolf was planning how to catch a family of rabbits he had seen that morning by the hill. They walked in silence for some time, each thinking his own thoughts. They both agreed it was a very pleasant day. A small bird began to sing in the branches above them. Its song was as sweet as honeysuckle and as fast as a flowing stream. "What bird is that, Grey Muzzle?" asked the bear. "That is a wren, the king of the birds," replied the wolf. "He may be small, but he is brave and clever. You must treat him with respect, old Wintercoat, or he will punish you." "Is that so?" said the bear. "I would like to see his royal palace. Do you know where he lives?" "His queen will be back soon," said the wolf. "She will show us." Sure enough, the Jenny Wren came flying back with food in her beak. Her husband joined her, and they flew to a nest hidden in the leaves. "There it is," said the bear. "Can we look inside?" "It would be better to wait until the king and queen have flown away again," warned the wolf. So they walked on a little way and then walked back. The wrens had left the nest. The bear climbed up the tree to take a look. There were 5 or 6 young birds lying in a tangle of twigs. "What a mess!" exclaimed the bear. "Is that the royal palace? And are those the royal children? They look more like little cuckoos that have been left by someone else." The young wrens were furious when they heard this. They chirped and beat their tiny wings as fiercely as seagulls fighting over fish. They pecked the bear on his nose. He lost his balance and fell out of the tree. "Cuckoos!" shrieked the young wrens. "You dare to call us cuckoos? We shall tell the king our father." "If he is your father," muttered the bear. "I've never seen such a miserable den," he said to the wolf. "Kings and queens sometimes have strange habits, my friend," replied the wolf. They shook their heads sadly and slunk away before someone could accuse them of raiding the nest. The young wrens were still screaming like cats, waiting for their dinner. When their parents returned, they told them what the bear had said. "He called us cuckoos," they protested. "He has insulted us. He would have eaten us if we had not fought him off." They refused to eat any of the flies and grubs their mother brought them unless the bear apologized. "Children," said the wren, and sighed. "Go on," said the Jenny. "Go and tell the bear he must apologize. Talking to our children like that. Really. And you, the king of the birds." The wren promised to go and see the bear. "I'm sure he will apologize," he said. "He meant to do us no harm." He flew to the bear's den. "Are you there, Bruin?" he called. "I hear you have been calling my children names." "They deserve it," growled the bear. "Never mind that," said the wren. "You must apologize, or there will be trouble." Apologize? Exclaimed the bear. To those scruffy little brats? Brats. Not likely. King or no king, I'll not apologize. Oh dear, said the wren. We shall have to fight it out then, I'm afraid. That won't do you any good, growled the bear. I'll grind your feathers into powder. We will see, said the wren. So there was a great battle. The bear called together all the 4-footed creatures in the world. The ox was there, and so was the ass. The wolf came with his brothers and cousins. Every kind of deer was there, including the reindeer and the roe deer, the mouse deer and the moose. I don't know if moose are considered deer or not. The elephant came, and so did the tortoise. There were more shapes and sizes than there are shades of green in the forest. The wren called together his army too. From the vulture and the stork to the hummingbird and hawk. There were insects as well. The gnats and hornets came. So did the bees and the dragonflies. The sky was dark with clouds of birds and insects gathering for the battle. It was like a thunderstorm at midday. We must find out the enemy's plan, said the wren. This has really escalated. Like this got out of hand really quickly. So the gnats were sent secretly to find the bear and the wolf. They hid beneath the bear's paw and listened carefully to what he said. The bear was talking to the fox. You are the most cunning of all the animals, said the bear. You shall lead us and decide when we should attack. When we should attack. Delighted, said the fox, waving his tail proudly. We need a signal for attack, said the wolf. I think my tail would look rather good, don't you? Said the fox, waving it a little higher. If I hold it up, we attack. If I drop it, we run as fast as we can back home. No need for that, growled the bear. You just keep your tail riding high, Reynard, snapped the wolf. We will not be the ones to run away. The animals grunted and roared and barked and howled. They were all eager for battle. As soon as the gnats heard about the plan, they flew back to the wren and told him about it. Good, said the wren. I think we can deal with Mr. Reynard and his bushy tail without too much trouble. He called for the hornet and gave him his orders. See better. Everything ready? Called out the wren. The birds and the insects whistled and crowed and hummed and buzzed. They were all ready. Forward! Cried the wren. Forward! Said the fox, and raised his brush in the air. The animals marched to the place of battle with such a rumbling and thundering and scamping and thudding that the whole ground shook. The birds and the insects flocked to the fight with such a beating and fluttering of feathers and such a whirring of wings that the trees bent before the wind that they made. Soon both armies were fighting furiously. They were biting and pecking, scratching and clawing, beating and pawing. was never such a fierce battle. Now, said the wren to the hornet. The hornet buzzed like a bee in a bottle. He flew at once to find the fox. There he was, with his red tail held high so that all the animals could see. The hornet flew down and stung him beneath his tail as hard as he could. Ouch! Yelped the fox. He shook all over his body and jumped in the air, but he kept his tail held high. The hornet stung him again. Stop that! Stop that! Shrieked the fox. His tail dropped down for a second, but he bravely raised it again. The hornet stung him a third time. The fox could bear it no more. He screamed with pain. He tucked his tail between his legs, and he ran as fast as he could away from the battle. When the animals saw that the fox had dropped his tail, they all stopped fighting and fled from the battlefield. The birds and the insects chattered and buzzed behind them. We have won! Cried out the wren. The wren and the jenny flew back to their young ones in the nest. We have won the battle, they said. The bear has paid for the rude words he said to you. You must eat your food now. Has he apologized? Asked the young birds. He had no time, said the wren. He ran away too fast. No good, said the young birds. He called us cuckoos, and he must apologize. No apology, no food. We would rather starve to death. Very well, sighed the wren. He flew back to the bear's den. Come out, old Grizzle Jaws, he called. You still have not apologized to my children, and I'll get no peace until you do. The bear grunted, but he knew he had lost the battle. He padded along to the nest. Apologize, said the jenny, or the children will starve themselves to death. A good thing too, said the bear to himself, but he grunted an apology. He passed the wren on his way home. Wretched little brats, he muttered. What did he say? Chirped the jenny. Fetching little gnats, I think he said, my dear, said the wren, who wanted no more trouble. He must be very fond of children, to bring them food himself. The end. So is the moral of the story to tell a little white lie to stop further combat? Anyway, the last story in the book is called Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, a little girl lived with her mother in a country village. On Sundays, she walked along the footpath to visit her grandmother, who lived in a cottage all on its own in the middle of the forest. This grandmother was very fond of the little girl. She used to make the most beautiful clothes for her during the long winter evenings. The prettiest thing she made was a red riding cloak with a hood to match. The girl liked it so much that she wore it all the time. Throughout the village, she became known as Little Red Riding Hood. One day her mother asked her to go out and see her grandmother in the middle of the week. I hear she's been ill, she said. Poor Grandmamma, said Red Riding Hood. Has she been very ill? She asked with curiosity. That's none of your business, replied her mother. You must take her these cakes and this bottle of wine. Don't dawdle on the way, and be careful not to break the bottle. Stay and talk for as long as she wants, and don't make rude remarks if she looks a bit off colour. I swear they hated children in those days. Some of these stories, the way they talk about kids. Yes, Mamma, said Red Riding Hood. Off you go then, said her mother, and be good. Red Riding Hood put on her cloak and pulled the hood over her head. She picked up her basket and set off through the forest. I have never seen anyone who is very ill, she thought. How exciting! On the way she met the wolf. The wolf was extremely hungry and had a fancy to eat Red Riding Hood on the spot. On the other hand, he thought, I'll find out where she's going first. Good morning, said the wolf. Good morning, said Red Riding Hood, who had never met the wolf before. You must be Red Riding Hood, said the wolf, and grinned like a garden rake. Very pretty indeed, I must say. Why, thank you, said Red Riding Hood. Where are you off to? Asked the wolf. I'm off to see Grandmamma, replied Red Riding Hood. What's in your basket? Asked the wolf. Cakes and wine, said Red Riding Hood. She's dreadfully ill. Dear me, said the wolf. I'm sorry to hear that. He sucked his tongue with a sound like water down a drain. I should very much like to go and see her myself, he said. It's always nice to have visitors when you are ill. Where does your grandmother live? Not far from here, Red Riding Hood replied. By the 3 great oak trees. There is a tiny cottage with a thatched roof and shutters on the windows. And you say she has been very ill, said the wolf. Oh, terribly ill, said Red Riding Hood. She's in bed and is very weak. Fancy that, said the wolf, and his belly rumbled like a boulder dropping down an empty well. I must go now, said Red Riding Hood. Of course, said the wolf. But why not take some wildflowers for your Grandmamma? There are some bright ones in the forest over there. She would like those even more than cakes and wine. Don't worry about being late. She will understand. That's a wonderful idea, Red Riding Hood said. Goodbye, then, said the wolf. Goodbye, said Red Riding Hood. The wolf trotted off into the forest. When he was out of sight, he set off as fast as he could towards the lonely cottage where the grandmother lay ill in bed. How is that for cunning, said the wolf to himself. One meal first and another one after, if I'm quick as a fox. While the wolf was loping towards the cottage, practicing an imitation of Red Riding Hood's voice, the little girl started to pick wildflowers for her grandmother. Each one she saw seemed prettier than the last, so she went deeper and deeper into the forest. It took her some time to find her way back. The wolf had already arrived at the cottage. He knocked at the door. Tock, tock. Who's there? Cried the grandmother in a weak voice. Red Riding Hood, grandmamma, said the wolf, speaking with his tongue to the front of his mouth. I have cakes and wine for you. Please open the door. I am in bed, called the old woman. Press down the latch and let yourself in. The wolf pressed down the latch and let himself in. He walked boldly across the floor, up the stairs, and opened the bedroom door. In a moment he pounced on the old woman and ate her up. Then he put on one of her night-dresses and her nightcap, got into bed, and snuggled under the bedclothes to wait for Red Riding Hood. That's one meal, he thought to himself, but I'm still very hungry. I wonder when the next one will arrive. Little Red Riding Hood was walking as fast as she could toward the cottage. I'm late already, she thought. I do hope Grandmamma has not been getting too worried. She must be terribly hungry now. Perhaps she is even more ill. She reached the cottage and knocked on the door. Tock, tock. Who's there? Called a throaty voice from inside. Dear me, thought Red Riding Hood. Poor old Grandmamma. She does sound ill. She called out happily. It's me, Grandmamma, Red Riding Hood. I have cakes and wine and flowers for you. I'm much too ill to come down, said the throaty voice. Press down the latch and let yourself in. Red Riding Hood pressed down the latch and let herself in. She walked across the floor and up the rickety stairs. She opened the door of her grandmother's room. There she saw the old woman tucked deeply under the bedclothes, with her cap pulled well down over her face. She really is ill, thought Red Riding Hood, staring at her from the doorway. How are you feeling, Grandmamma? She asked. Dreadful, said the throaty voice of the wolf. You don't sound too good, Grandmamma, said Red Riding Hood. Never mind, dear, said the wolf. Come a little closer and let me see what's in your basket. You don't look too good, Grandmamma, said Red Riding Hood. That's because I'm hungry, said the wolf. Now what have you to make me feel better? Red Riding Hood tiptoed up to the bed and opened her basket. She looked very closely at her grandmother, hidden beneath the sheets, and thought to herself that being ill did make people look more interesting. Oh, Grandmamma, she said, what big ears you have. All the better to hear you with, my dear, replied the wolf. What big eyes you have, Grandmamma, Red Riding Hood said. All the better to see you with, my dear, replied the wolf. What big hands you have, Grandmamma, Red Riding Hood said. All the better to hold you with, my dear, replied the wolf. And oh, Grandmamma, what big teeth you have, Red Riding Hood said. All the better, my dear, to eat you with, said the wolf, and leapt out of bed. He gobbled up Red Riding Hood as quick as a wink. That's better, said the wolf to himself, and went back to bed. He was soon snoring away, well contented with his meal. Not long after, a huntsman happened to be walking by the cottage and heard the snoring through the open window. The old woman sounds a bit strange, he thought. I'd best go in and see how she is. He found the door open, climbed the stairs, and saw the wolf fast asleep on the bed. The huntsman was just about to shoot the wolf dead on the spot when he had an idea. Perhaps he's eaten the old woman, he thought. Maybe I can still save her. He took out his knife and cut carefully down the wolf's belly. The first thing he saw was a corner of Red Riding Hood's cloak. Out she sprang in a moment. How frightened I was in there, she said, and how dark it was. Between them, they helped out the old grandmother, who was very weak and could hardly breathe. Then they put some heavy stones inside the wolf and sewed him up again. When he awoke, he tried to leap out of the window, but he fell down dead on the ground. Red Riding Hood gave her grandmother the cakes and wine she had brought, and the flowers as well. Are you feeling better, Grandmamma? She asked. Much better, thank you, dear, said her grandmother. I'm so glad, said Red Riding Hood, and went back through the forest. She was quite careful who she talked to after that. These abridged versions of the stories are just like... In almost every version, the wolf gets a brutal ending. Yeah. So random. Like, put some stones in, sew the wolf back up. So random. Oh dear. Might have to be a short stream tonight. I'm very eepy. I don't know what to do about my streaming schedule and my sleep. Doesn't seem to be working out lately. Yesterday my computer was still a mess, which is why I didn't stream. Tonight I thought I wasn't going to stream because of all the kerfuffle outside. If you didn't hear at the start of the stream, I explained. There was kerfuffle outside, and there was like police and fire rescue. Apparently a kitten had gotten stuck in a drain outside. So there were some rescuers and police with, stopping traffic and yeah, so the rescuers and the owners were trying to coax this kitten or cat out of a drain. And the neighbours' dogs were barking, which wasn't helping. Eventually one of the fireys decided to go down into the drain. And the moment he did, the cat shot out the other end of the drain and up the street. So the cat could have left at any point. It just wasn't, because it's too stupid to. Anyway, they got the cat out. So I don't know whether the cat's home yet or not, but it's not in the drain, I can tell you that. So yeah, my dad was watching through the window, and I usually like to get my dad settled before I start streaming. That's okay. It all worked out. But if you're the neighbour and you have dogs that are barking and you're out there, you can clearly see what's happening, that they're trying to rescue a cat from a drain. Wouldn't you go to some effort to shut your dogs up and move them maybe to inside the house or to the back of the backyard at least, just to stop them from barking at everyone, so the cat doesn't get freaked out? Seems like common sense to me. out on the poor little cat, I could hear it, like, because it's nighttime here and sound travels. I could hear it going meow, meow in the drain. I'm just like, oh no, little kitty. I didn't get to see it though. It went choo up the street so fast. So, yeah, clearly it wasn't injured or anything, just in the drain. I think a lot of people don't feel the need to stop their dogs from barking. In this instance, when they're trying to rescue a cat, it's like, you can clearly see the owners are like trying to coax the cat out, saying, you know, it's meowing. And the dog's barking. Like, what did COVID do to your brain? Like, connect the dots, please, you know? I'm surprised the cop didn't go over there and be like, can you shut your dog up so we can get out of here? If I was a police officer, I'd be like, can you please stop your dog from barking or put it in the backyard? Hey B, how you doing? I don't know why I just ate a vitamin C then. I don't. I put my vitamins on my table so I don't forget to take them. But then I just keep eating them. I'm just like, I can't win. Either I forget that they're there, or I just keep eating them. That's got to be the 10th vitamin C I've had today. Can't win. Yum, ascorbic acid. Yeah. No scurvy for me. I've got oranges as well. I might have an orange. It really mess up my stomach from too much vitamin C. Just to be clear, I know if I have too much vitamin C, my stomach doesn't like it. Because back when I was a kid, we used to get, there was like a thing, I don't know if you remember, called Tang. Remember Tang? It's like this powder, like this vitamin C powder you could put in a drink.
Take a fucking sip, babes.
Thank you. Hello, Neko, how you doing? Yeah, it's called Tang, and it had way too much vitamin C in it. Yeah. Yeah, and it gave me stomachache because too much vitamin C. You have Tang in your cupboard. They sold it when I was a kid for like a year, and then it disappeared. I'm guessing it didn't take off in Australia. How you doing, Neko? I'm just thinking about whether I should. I might read you a fable. Who wants to hear a fable? From Aesop's Big Book of Fables. No. It is a big book. Look at this. It's an A3. A3. Anyway, Aesop's Fables with illustrations. You'd listen to that bloody beautiful soothing voice. Oh, thank you. Aesop's Fables. Oh, we know this font. It's papyrus, or papyrus, as Ari says. Gotta get that papyrus. Oh, yeah. I adore Ari too. Note on the text. The text for this edition of Aesop's Fables has been chosen in close collaboration with Charles Santore, the illustrator of this collection, from an excellent classic translation, notable for its precise and direct language and strong visual images. The modern reader should enjoy the occasional quaintness of its traditional style and also rejoice in its elegance, flavour, and wit. Claire Boos, editor. When was this book published? The book was published in 1988 in New York. Oh no, in Italy. Printed and bound in Italy. There you go, 1988. That's not bad for a frickin' 88, 98, 2008, 2018, 30, 35? Something like that. Yeah, got to be over 35 years old. It's a pretty good book. Anyway, I'm not going to read the foreword because I don't know why. Maybe I'll go back and read it. Anyway, Aesop's Fables are very short. They're all short. But they have... they all come with lovely illustrations in this book. Okay, so The Wolf and the Crane. A wolf once got a bone stuck in his throat. So he went to a crane and begged her to put her long bill down his throat and pull it out. "I'll make it worth your while," he added. The crane did as she was asked and got the bone out quite easily. Throat gang, oh my goodness. The wolf thanked her warmly and was just turning away when she cried, "What about that fee of mine?" "Well, what about it?" snapped the wolf, baring his teeth as he spoke. "You can go about boasting that you once put your head into a wolf's mouth and didn't get it bitten off. What more do you want?" Told you they were short. What more do you want? Platonically, of course. Is that... It sounds like the crane did it for exposure. Paid? You get paid in exposure. The crane's like, fuck you, pay me. Listen, don't expect payment from someone who can eat you. It seems like the wolf... There's a lot of wolf being bad guy in this book. This one's called The Wolf and the Lamb. And I think it's probably relevant. A wolf came upon a lamb straying from the flock, and felt some reluctance about taking the life of so helpless a creature without some plausible excuse. So he cast about for a grievance and said at last, "Last year, sir, you grossly insulted me." "That is impossible, sir," bleated the lamb, "for I wasn't born then." "Well," retorted the wolf, "you feed in my pastures." "That cannot be," replied the lamb, "for I have never yet tasted grass." "You drink from my spring, then," continued the wolf. "Indeed, sir," said the poor lamb, "I have never yet drunk anything but my mother's milk." "Well, anyhow," said the wolf, "I'm not going without my dinner." And he sprang upon the lamb and devoured it without more ado. The end. So yeah. When it comes down to it, the wolf's going to eat the lamb, whether it has an excuse or not. It was just trying to make itself feel better about it. This one is called The Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Oh my goodness, so many wolves. A wolf resolved to disguise himself in order that he might prey upon a flock of sheep without fear of detection. So he clothed himself in a sheepskin and slipped among the sheep when they were out at pasture. He completely deceived the shepherd, and when the flock was penned in for the night, he was shut in with them. But that very night, as it happened, the shepherd, requiring a supply of mutton for the table, laid his hands on the wolf, mistaking him for a sheep, and finished him off with his knife on the spot. The end. Might take the dust cover off, because it's getting a bit difficult to move it. Oh, and it's got the same illustrations under the dust cover. The hardback has the same illustration. Can't read a book with a dust cover on it. The smaller books I can, but this one's just a pain in the ass. There's a shepherd in the background. It's just, the book's just that size where it's just slightly too awkward. This is the kind of book that, like, a teacher would read to a preschool class or school class because it's nice and big. Hoping he's a good wolf, he just wants to blend in. No. Okay. So this one's called The Vain Jackdaw. Jupiter, king of the gods, oh, we're going back a bit, announced that he intended to appoint a king over the birds, and he named a day on which they were to appear before his throne, when he would select the most beautiful of them all to be their ruler. Jupiter being the Roman version of Zeus. Most people know that, don't they? Yeah. Wishing to look their best on the occasion, they retired to the banks on a stream, where they busied themselves in washing and preening their feathers. The jackdaw was there along with the rest, and realized that, with his ugly plumage, he would have no chance of being chosen as he was. So he waited till they were all gone, then picked up the most gaudy of the feathers they had dropped, and fastened them around his own body, with the result that he looked gayer than any of them. Super gay. When the appointed day came, the birds assembled before Jupiter's throne, and after passing them in review, he was about to make the jackdaw king, when all the rest set upon the king-elect, stripped him of his borrowed plumes, and exposed him for the jackdaw that he was. There's some angry birds. Yes, the result was he looked gayer than them all. Jupiter only wants the gayest of birds. The next story, or the next fable. Fable? Yeah, fable. Next fable is called The Lion and the Wild Ass. A lion and a wild ass went out hunting together. The latter was to run down the prey by his superior speed, and the former would then come up and dispatch it. They met with great success, and when it came to sharing the spoil, the lion divided it all into 3 equal portions. "I will take the first," said he, "because I am king of the beasts. I will also take the second, because, as your partner, I am entitled to half of what remains. And as for the third, well, unless you give it up to me and take off pretty quickly, the third, believe me, will make you feel very sorry for yourself." The end. That's the look of betrayal. What the hell's an ass doing? I thought they were vegetarians. Book would be banned in schools in the US for having a gay bird in it. In all seriousness, it's gay as in pretty. Here's a classic one: The Lion and the Mouse. A lion was asleep in his lair. Oh, a lion asleep in his lair. Gays and pretty? Yeah. Not gays and happy. I suppose it sort of means gays and happy, but as the jackdaw had all pretty feathers and looked gay, so yeah. I'll just read it. Yeah. He would have no chance, so he waited until they were gone. Then he picked up the most gaudy of feathers they had dropped and fastened them around his own body, with the result that he looked gayer than any of them. So there you go. It was definitely referencing the jackdaw's appearance. Lion and the Mouse. Wild ass, you say? A lion asleep in his lair was awakened by a mouse running over his face. Losing his temper, he seized it with his paw and was about to kill it. The mouse, terrified, piteously entreated him to spare its life. "Please let me go," it cried, "and one day I will repay you for your kindness." The idea of so insignificant a creature ever being able to do anything for him amused the lion so much that he laughed aloud and good-humouredly let it go. But the mouse's chance came after all. One day the lion got entangled in a net which had been spread for game by some hunters, and the mouse heard and recognized his roars of anger, and ran to the spot. Without more ado, it set to work to gnaw the ropes with its teeth, and succeeded before long in setting the lion free. "There," said the mouse, "you laughed at me when I promised I would repay you, but now you see even a mouse can help a lion." The end. Unexpected chat. Here's the mouse. I hope so too, Scribs. Going horizontal? Okay, no worries, kitty. What's the link? The next one is called The Ass in the Lion's Skin. An ass found a lion's skin and dressed himself up in it. Then he went about frightening everyone he met, for they all took him to be a lion, men and beasts alike, and took to their heels when they saw him coming. Elated by the success of his trick, he loudly brayed in triumph. The fox heard him and recognized him at once, for the ass he was, and said to him, "Oh ho, my friend, it's you, is it? I too should have been afraid if I hadn't heard your voice." Dead ass. These are Aesop's fables, Scribs. In papyrus. This one is called The Old Lion and the Fox. Specifically, the old lion. A lion, enfeebled by age, and no longer able to procure food for himself by force, determined to do so by cunning. Taking himself to a cave, he lay down inside and pretended to be sick. And whenever any of the other animals entered to inquire after his health, he sprang upon them and devoured them. Many lost their lives in this way, till one day a fox called at the cave, and, having a suspicion of the truth, addressed the lion from outside instead of going in, and asked him how he was. He replied that he was in a very bad way. "But," said he, "why do you stand outside? Pray, come in." "I should have done so," answered the fox, "if I hadn't noticed that all the footprints point toward the cave, and none the other way." Smart fox. Ah, the fox even brought the lion flowers. This fable is called The Monkey as King. At a gathering of all the animals, the monkey danced and delighted them so much that they made him their king. The fox, however, was very much disgusted at the promotion of the monkey. So having one day found a trap with a piece of meat in it, he took the monkey there and said to him, "Here is a dainty morsel I have found, sire. I did not take it myself, because I thought it ought to be reserved for you, our king. Will you be pleased to accept it?" The monkey went at once for the meat and got caught in the trap. Then he bitterly reproached the fox for leading him into danger, but the fox only laughed and said, "Oh, monkey, you call yourself king of the beasts, and haven't more sense than to be taken in like that." Monkey. Monkey. Do you know the PG Tips advert? I do not. I can't even remember where that's from. This one is called The Fox and the Grapes. A hungry fox saw some fine bunches of grapes hanging from a vine that was trained along a high tree, and did his best to reach them by jumping as high as he could into the air. But it was all in vain, for they were just out of reach. So he gave up trying and walked away with an air of dignity and unconcern, remarking, "I thought those grapes were ripe, but I see now they are quite sour." I didn't want those grapes anyway. Brat fox. I like the little illustrations too, that just kind of like the heading illustration. There's a northern guy that's like monkey on it. PG Tips is a tea brand. Oh, okay. I don't remember what it's from. I just got that stuck in my head from somewhere. Pretty sure it's not from a tea ad though. This one's called The Wild Boar and the Fox. A wild boar was engaged in sharpening his tusks upon the trunk of a tree in the forest, when a fox came by, and, seeing what he was at, said to him, "Why are you doing that, pray? The huntsmen are not out today, and there are no other dangers at hand that I can see." "True, my friend," replied the boar, "but the instant my life is in danger, I shall need to use my tusks. There will be no time to sharpen them then." The end. So I'm guessing the moral of that story is be prepared. The Fox and the Crow. A crow was sitting on a branch of a tree with a piece of cheese in her beak. Approved. When a fox observed her and set his wits to work to discover some way of getting the cheese. Coming and standing under the tree, he looked up and said, "What a noble bird I see above me! Her beauty is without equal, the hue of her plumage exquisite. If only her voice is as sweet as her looks are fair, she ought without doubt to be queen of the birds." The crow was hugely flattered by this, and just to show the fox that she could sing, she gave a loud caw. Down came the cheese, of course, and the fox, snatching it up, said, "You have a voice, madam, I see. What you want is wits." Who is Hildy? Okay. Fox and the... Everything's freezing? Oh, okay. Okay, kitty. Stay warm. Oh. Oh, okay. You mean the internet? Okay. No worries, kitty. This one's called The Crow and the Swan. Love how floofy he is. A crow was filled with envy on seeing the beautiful white plumage of a swan, and thought it was due to the water in which the swan constantly bathed and swam. So he left the neighbourhood of the inns, where he got his living by taking bits of meat left from the plates of the diners, and went and lived among the pools and streams. But though he bathed and washed his feathers many times a day, he didn't make them any whiter, and at last died of hunger into the bargain. You may change your habits, but not your nature. Bullshit. The eagle. The eagle and the crow. One day, a crow saw an eagle swoop down on a lamb and carry it aloft in its talons. "My word," said the crow, "I'll do that myself." So it flew high up into the air, and then came shooting down with a great whirring of wings on the back of a big ram, with the intention of carrying it off. It had no sooner alighted Then its claws got caught fast in the wool, and nothing it could do was of any use. There it stuck, flapping away, and only making things worse instead of better. By and by up came the shepherd. "Oh ho," he said, "so that's what you'd be doing, is it?" And he took the crow and clipped its wings and carried it home to his children. It looked so odd, they didn't know what to make of it. "What sort of bird is it, father?" they asked. "It's a crow," he replied, "and nothing but a crow, but it wants to be taken for an eagle." Ah, here's one. The two goats. I think I remember this one. Two proud goats happened to meet on the opposite cliffs of a high mountain range where a fierce river ran below through a rocky valley. The only bridge across the chasm was a fallen tree, so narrow as to frighten two mice passing each other at the same time. Both stubborn goats felt they had the right to cross the river first, so setting one hoof at a time upon the slender log, they found themselves head to head in the middle of the bridge. Neither goat would give way to the other, and finally they both fell headlong into the roaring waters below. I like the colour of that one, it was pretty. I think the moral of that one was pretty obvious. The tortoise and the eagle. Okay. A tortoise, discontented with his lowly life and envious of the birds he saw enjoying themselves in the air, begged an eagle to teach him to fly. The eagle protested that it was idle for him to try, as nature had not provided him with wings. But the tortoise pressed him with entreaties and promises of treasure. "Hi, pretty boy. How you doing? It's live." The eagle protested that it was idle for him to try, as nature had not provided him with wings. But the tortoise pressed him with entreaties and promises of treasure, insisting that it could only be a question of learning the craft of the air. So at length the eagle consented to do the best he could for him, and picked him up in his talons. Soaring with him to a great height in the sky, he then let him go, and the wretched tortoise fell headlong into the sea. Wild. The expression on the tortoise. The Ox and the Frog. Two little frogs were playing about at the edge of a pool when an ox came down to the water to drink, and by accident trod on one of them and crushed him. When the old frog missed him, she asked his brother where he was. "He is dead, mother," said the little frog. "An enormous big creature with 4 legs came to our pool this morning and trampled him down in the mud." "Enormous, was he? Was he as big as this?" said the frog, puffing herself out to look as big as possible. "Oh, yes, much bigger," was the answer. The frog puffed herself out still more. "Was he as big as this?" she said. "Oh, yes, yes, mother, much bigger," said the little frog. And yet again she puffed and puffed herself out till she was almost as round as a ball. "Cease, mother, to puff yourself out," said the little frog, "and do not be angry, for you would sooner burst than successfully imitate the hugeness of that creature." Aesop was really big on limitations, wasn't he? The Crab and his Mother. An old crab said to her son, "Why do you walk sideways like that, my son? You ought to walk straight." The young crab replied, "Show me how, dear mother, and I'll follow your example." The old crab tried, but tried in vain, and then saw how foolish she had been to find fault with her child. Yeah, walk gaily. Is that like put your money where your mouth is kind of thing? Criticize if you can't do it? Or is it more about expecting things of the younger generation that the older generation don't have to adhere to, etc., etc.? Lots of different interpretations. This one's called The Heron. A heron went wading one early morning to take his breakfast from the shallows of a stream. There were many fish in the water, but the stately heron thought he could find better. "Such small fry is certainly not suitable fare for a heron," he remarked to himself. And as a choice young perch swam by, the heron tipped his long bill in the air and snapped, "No, sir, I certainly wouldn't open my beak for that." The sun grew higher, and all the fish left the shallows for the cool, deep middle of the stream. When the heron could find no trace of a fish left in the stream, he was very grateful to finally break his fast on a mere snail. Don't be so damn choosy. Right. The town mouse and the country mouse. A town mouse and a country mouse were acquaintances, and the country mouse one day invited his friend to come and see him at his home in the fields. The town mouse came, and they sat down to a dinner of barleycorns and roots, the latter of which had a distinctly earthy flavour. The fare was not much to the taste of the guest, and presently he broke out with, "My poor dear friend, you live here no better than the ants. Now, you should just see how I fare. My larder is a regular horn of plenty. You must come and stay with me, and I promise you, you shall live on the fat of the land." So when he returned to the town, he took the country mouse with him, and showed him a larder containing flour and oatmeal and figs and honey and dates. The country mouse had never seen anything like it, and sat down to enjoy the luxuries his friend provided. But before they had begun, the door of the larder opened, and someone came in. The two mice scampered off and hid themselves in a narrow and exceedingly uncomfortable hole. Presently, when all was quiet, they ventured out again. But someone else came in, and off they scuttled again. This was too much for the visitor. "Goodbye," said he. "I'm off. You live in the lap of luxury, I can see, but you are surrounded by dangers, whereas at home I can enjoy my simple dinner of roots and corn in peace." The little mice. Oh my goodness, that reminds me of a book. Do you remember the book Monty? Does anyone remember that book? Looking back on it now, I think it was a taxidermied mouse, but when I was a kid, I loved that book. It's just called Monty, and it was a mouse. Yeah. I'll have to show it to you. This one is called The Bear and the Bees. Bear and the Bees. A bear was once searching for berries in the woods when he came across an old log where bees had stored their honey. Wishing to find out whether the bees were at home, he sniffed around the log with some caution. Along came a bee on his way home from the fields with more honey, and on seeing the bear, he angrily leapt upon his nose, stung him once, and flew swiftly into his house. The wretched bear then rushed at the log with his teeth and claws, but the entire nest of bees poured out and swarmed all over his body. Stumbling away in agony, the bear was only able to save himself by falling headfirst into a nearby pond. Bees! Look at a lot of the teeth on that bear. The Grasshopper and the Ants. One fine day, in winter, some ants were busy drying their store of corn. which had got rather damp during a long spell of rain. Presently up came a grasshopper, and begged them to spare her a few grains. "For," she said, "I'm simply starving." The ants stopped work for a moment. Oh, Britters. The ants stopped work for a moment, though this was against their principles. "May we ask," said they, "what you were doing with yourself all last summer? Why didn't you collect a store of food for the winter?" "The fact is," replied the grasshopper, "I was so busy singing that I hadn't the time." "If you spent the summer singing," replied the ants, "you can't do better than spend the winter dancing." And they chuckled and went on with their work.
Take a fucking sip, babes.
I will, thank you, Britta. Also, don't mind my toothbrush just randomly sitting in the shot. This one's called The Grasshopper and the Owl. I know, the illustrations are great, aren't they? An owl, who lived in a hollow tree, was in the habit of feeding by night and sleeping by day. But her slumbers were greatly disturbed by the chirping of a grasshopper, who had taken up his abode in the branches. She begged him repeatedly to have some consideration for her comfort, but the grasshopper, if anything, only chirped louder. At last the owl could stand it no longer, and was determined to rid herself of the pest by means of a trick. Addressing herself to the grasshopper, she said, in her most pleasant manner, "As I cannot sleep for your song, which, believe me, is as sweet as the sound of a harp, I have a mind to taste some nectar which I was given the other day. Won't you come in and join me?" The grasshopper was flattered by the praise of his song, and his mouth too watered at the mention of the delicious drink, so he said he would be delighted. No sooner had he gotten inside the hollow where the owl was sitting than she pounced upon him and ate him up. Sleepy owl. Colours. I might take a picture of that and set it as my wallpaper. Always trust, yes, that's it, B. Always trust entities that can eat you. That's exactly what it means. I think it's more like be careful of who you're annoying. or maybe beware of people that you've annoyed or something like that. I'm not sure. This is a fold-out one. Wow. I have to show it to you. This one is one that everyone knows. The Hare and the Tortoise. One day, a hare was making fun of a tortoise for being so slow upon his feet. Annoy entities that cannot eat you. Yes, exactly. For being so slow upon his feet. "Wait a bit," said the tortoise. "I'll run a race with you, and I'll wager that I win." Oh, well, replied the hare, who was much amused at the idea. Let's try and see. And it was soon agreed that the fox should set a course for them and be the judge. When the time came, both started off together, but the hare was soon so far ahead that he thought he might as well have a rest. So down he lay and fell fast asleep. Meanwhile, the tortoise kept plodding on, and in time reached the goal. At last the hare woke up with a start, and dashed on at his fastest pace, but only to find that the tortoise had already won the race. Slow and steady wins the race. Let's see if I can show you this. It's got all the animals from the different stories in it. See the hare on one side and the tortoise on the other. And that's the end of the book. Yay. I haven't read that book since I was a kid. So yeah, that was Aesop's Fables, illustrated in colour by Charles Santore. Or Santor, I don't know how you pronounce it. But yeah, this book's from 1988. It doesn't have an inscription in it, so I don't know. What's it like reading it now you're an adult? Well, I can understand them now. And I can appreciate the time it took to put into the all the illustrations. I'm amazed the book's in such good condition too. Although it has been just sitting on the same shelf for the past 30 years. Hooray. Oh, there's the back cover. It's the bear and the bees. With those teeth. What is with those teeth? That's so weird. I'll have to see if I can find Monty. Oh. He looks high with how red his eyes. Yeah. It's called Monty the Runaway Mouse. And now that I'm an adult, I realise that it is probably taxidermy. The illustrations are probably taxidermy. Which is a little bit creepy, but whatever. Let's see if the scene will work. There you go. I just looked it up, and that's the front cover of the book. called Monty the Runaway Mouse. So yeah, I will see if I can find it. Because when you're a kid, you don't realize that, like, how they did the pictures. Yeah, you just like, oh, there's a cute little mouse and he's running away. You don't realize it's just like that's that's probably not a live mouse. Anyway, taxidermy creeps me out a little bit, but not Monty for some reason. A book with a bunch of pictures of a dead mouse. Yeah. Let's not ruin it for the kids. Yeah, for the kids. Dear. Who is on? I don't have any books with me. Any more books to read tonight? I didn't think I was going to get through those books, but I did. It is a bit morbid, isn't it? Monty. I'm sure Dad will go out amongst the neighbours tomorrow and find out what happened with the cat. You're enjoying your vampire book? What's your vampire book? What is it? What is the vampire book called? Is it Anne Rice or is it something? Oh, could I read Interview with a Vampire on stream? Is it too saucy? I've never read Interview with a Vampire. I've only seen the movie and the TV show. You want to read the Anne Rice book? Yeah. Please read it. The problem is, like, some of the books, they kind of ambush you, and I'm just like, with like random things, I'm just like, can I read this on stream? Like the I just read Cloud of Sparrows had that bit where they're like riding along and they get ambushed by those enemy, I think they're bandits or samurai. They're enemy samurai, I think they are. And Genji distracts them because he has his foreign guests, and Genji distracts them by, describing, because they're like, I bet he, they're all like insulting Genji by saying that he sleeps with his foreign guests and enjoys their barbarian ways and stuff. And Genji kind of leans into it to distract them while his guards get into position. And he kind of like starts explicitly describing in detail, like his companion's like body, like, and it's like, the companions don't know, they're American, they don't speak Japanese, so they don't understand what he's saying, and like they're all just like open mouthed, like they've never heard anything like this before, and then suddenly they're they're caught off guard. But that bit in the book, I completely forgot about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm doing it, reading this on stream. And I did it, and it's in the VOD. I just can't remember which VOD. You'll have to start from the beginning. But anyway, yeah. The only bit I won't read on stream are like descriptions of extreme violence or like sexual assault. So there was a bit in Cloud of Sparrows which I didn't want to read on stream. But yeah. The book is called Hungerstone by Kat Dunn. It's about a married woman in Victorian times. Sounds good. And as they were on the way to their new house in the countryside, they came across an accident who they find is Carmilla. I was thinking about reading Carmilla. I take her in because she's unwell. She's a vampire based on Carmilla, the old story. Ah, very good. I wonder if it's more, let's just say, readable than Carmilla. I haven't read Carmilla. I wasn't not game to read Carmilla on stream. I don't know why. I just don't know. Is it a small book? Okay. I didn't know whether I'd be like, because I don't want to start a book and then like get bored of it halfway while I'm reading on stream. You know what I mean? But yes, Carmilla is on my list. Full cast. Okay. That's kind of why I want to read like Shogun again and The Count of Monte Cristo, just because I really like those books. I just kind of enjoy it. It's like they're like comfort movies, but books. One series that I would love to read on stream, but I won't, is the De Very series by Catherine Kerr. You know, Daggerfell, Darkspell, all that stuff. The reason I can't read it on stream is because I can't pronounce the words out loud. They're not Gaelic. They're not like Welsh. It's a made-up language that Catherine Kerr made up the pronunciation of most of these words and names. And I'm just like, the books. Apparently, I'm not logged into my own stream. Give me a second. There we go. Okay, it's like the books all have different names. Yeah, OBS letting me down. Apparently, I have to log into chat in OBS. It's because I reinstalled Windows and everything's a bit fucky. Just a little bit. Yeah, so it's like, I think it's Daggerspell was the first book. Can't remember. I actually started reading that series because my grandma from England left a book here when she came over one time. And it was like late in the series. And I started reading it and I loved it. And that's I just went and grabbed the rest, like over time, when they appeared in the bookstores. I'll get one. Right. Daggerspell. First book by Catherine Kerr. It actually has instructions on how to pronounce the names, and I still can't pronounce them. I did reread the series one time. The books get a little repetitive. If you read them like one after another, they can start to get repetitive. So just be aware of that. But yeah, I read them when I was just out of high school. What is it about? It's about like basically sort of, I don't want to say Gaelic magic. It's like Welsh, sort of European sort of magic. And it's like the story of because in this book, in this series, like characters get reincarnated as different people, and it's like they have like I can't even pronounce, like weird. It's like their fate kind of thing, which develops as they do things in their lives. And basically there is a character called Nevin who, I can't even remember what he does. He does something. He wrongs someone, and he's a magic user. And he swears he won't rest until he fixes what he did wrong to this person. And the Lords of Weird listen to him and are like, cool, you're going to live until you fix this. So he doesn't die. He just keeps living. And he keeps encountering different characters over their different lives, trying to fix what he did. And he ends up guiding the path of the country as it develops. So he's basically Merlin. He's like Merlin, sort of. But unlike Merlin, he ages forwards. Do I highly recommend? I recommend the books. I don't know about highly recommend, but I haven't read them in ages, like in a long time. But they're very popular books. I remember someone saying, someone said to me, "Oh, it's very unusual for a guy to like these books." Like, well, I've got news for you. I want to go back in time and say, well, I've got news for you. Oh my goodness, this one's got the receipt in. I paid $19 for it. In 2004. There you go. You have the same thing to say to people who say the same thing. Yeah. Go back in time and be like, hey, guess what? Girls don't usually like this. Well, have I got news for you? Yeah, and it's also like love stories between the two characters. Like later in the series, Nevin kind of takes a back seat and it kind of becomes more focused on the soul who he was trying to make up to. And she becomes... Well, I'm not going to spoil it for you, actually. I will... Anyway, but yeah, the magic is kind of cool in the book too, because it's not like, I cast lightning. It's like wizards or the magic users like have to ask the natural forces to do things. So like if Nevin wants to make a storm, he'll ask the Lords of Air to do something, and he'll like go into a trance and then like go out of his body and then go and find the lords and be like, can you make a storm? And they're like, we recognize you as a prince and we'll do that for you. But yeah, it's kind of cool. There's lots of characters in it, lots of lives, and it's Lord of Fire, give me the power to set this person's pants on fire. Almost gave myself my lip. Okay. I'm not used to having a microphone in front of me. Alright. We're going to raid out, so I'm just going to turn raids off. We're going to go raid Ari, but wait, why did Scribs, did you get auto-modded? I didn't see that. I would have I would have allowed him. I don't remember having auto-mod on that. I might have to turn down auto-mod. Anyway, I was going to shout someone out, but I can't think of who I wanted to shout out. You know what? I'm going to... I'm gonna see. Let's shout out a lovely bean. I can't. I'm not gonna log in. Yeah, there we go.
Glory to you and your house.
Glory to you, Britta. That's Britta. Go follow Britta. Okay, it works. Good. Tested. Slash raid aria la la la. I keep typing it in there and it keeps asking me to log in. I'm going to use Scribble's raid. Alright, we're going to go raid Ari. And then I'm going to go get something to nom on. Ari's not ASMR, but she's a lovely bean. Please join. And yeah. Thank you for being here, everyone, and listening to me read fairy tales and fables. Scribs, no you. Hope to see a Scribs stream at some point, maybe. Maybe? Alrighty. I'm glad my stream's working. It seems to be working. And I will see you all, if not tomorrow, then another time. Alrighty, bye.